Let's pray. A silent prayer. Amen. So, over the week, I bet is it last week or before, the subject that has been of study in the movement has been the issue of speculations about the Sunday law. When is the Sunday law? Okay? And I believe even the last class that Murioki did, he did something trying to point where the various presenters had tried to point out what is the waymark of the Sunday law. And I'd like to look into the same, though my focus will be on Agenda 47 and Project 2025. And yeah, majorly that. So I'm usually lazy at writing, so you'll forgive me, but I'll try. I have a lot of material to read. I had prepared a presentation actually on my desktop, but today in the morning I've not used this laptop for the last 3 months. So on opening it up, it's asking for all the updates, WhatsApp updates, Windows updates. So actually it's what I've been struggling to, maybe because I couldn't carry a desktop with me. So I've tried, but I've lost a lot of the knee because now I had to start from scratch. Because up to now, where I'd shared the link that I'd used to share the knee is not, the WhatsApp is not updated, nothing is updated. So I'll use what I have. So, so the speculations that we've had so far, what are the speculations? Let me just call it the Sunday law. So what are the speculations that we have so far for the waymark of the Sunday law? Yes, Linda? July? July 2020. July 18th. Carl?
I have that question.
Uh-huh.
Why are they being called speculations?
I'm calling them speculations because actually we've not agreed yet on which is the waymark. So that's why I call them speculations. Yeah. We are still weighing. So you wanted to give me a waymark? Or you just had the question?
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, somebody else? The date? Yes, Gladys? You agree with July 18th? I'm not asking what you agree with. What are the options that have been given in the public domain? That's all, the two.
Another suggestion has been made for November, either 5th or 6th.
So we have November 5th, 2024. So what is July 18th, 2024? What else? What?
Trump.
Uh-huh. So nomination of Trump. Of Trump as the Republican. What else? How did you come up? How did we arrive at that remark, July 18th? And okay, as the movement now, these are external events that are pointing to that. But what do we have like in the studies that have been done concerning that remark? I believe Muriuki did a class here. Steve, you were in the class. Muriuki did a class here and he was pointing, saying that Terry Lambert did a study on that, pointing to July 8.
That was done before, but I think it was published on the 18th.
No. Somebody who was in class. I bet all of us were in that class. He discussed. I know why I'm saying he discussed. Search for the notes.
Acts 27 and Acts 27 and the year 273.
I believe Muriuki did a class here, and he highlighted that there was a name of a general, some Roman general, something in that line. Now, do you remember? Yeah, I remember that's what. So, there's a name of a Roman general. What is the name, Glady? I don't know how it's written. Is it Fabius? Fabius? I don't know how the other name is written. And then from the name, what did you get from the name? Huh? Yeah, so he did all that. And then there is an anywhere he said that actually the name, there is one of the name that actually has something to mean with Fabius, to mean being and all that, those speculations that were there. Not speculations, but there's a study that was done on that to show that. So actually I'm not dwelling much on that. Now November 5th, we know it's election date in the US. And then we have January 20th is inauguration. How is it written? Whatever, you're correct. So, there are some two studies actually that were shared recently by Emma in the forum. I bet most of us maybe might have watched them. I watched them, studies by Paminda, Elder Paminda, on the same. It was a discussion in class on the same, but nonetheless they were not conclusive also on the same. But they had the dates to be July 18th or November 5th, around there. Some were saying that we might be already on the on the loud cry, but Paminda actually ruled out that we can't be yet on the loud cry when we've not agreed actually on what is the Sunday law. So with those speculations, while most people actually go with the waymark of July 18th, I will go with November 5th, 2024 and give my reasons for the same. So, over time in the movement we've had that we've said that the media, we have the media what? The media are external external what? External prophets. Okay. So we've had the media as external prophets. And I believe actually during the midnight cry period, 2021 and before, we've been following so much on what actually is in the media. We look to CNN, what is being said over Twitter, and yeah, following much on the knee until I think maybe we stopped doing that. But actually, when I went back actually to try and find out actually what was being discussed in this election period actually, and when I checked my Twitter actually then also, there is this issue of 2025 which was actually trending then, and it's an issue to do with Project 2025, and the media actually, a better part of the media actually are projecting that should Trump take the presidency or win the presidency, that he'll do what? He'll implement Project 2025. So we'll define what Project 2025 is, and we'll relate it to Trump's manifesto, which he calls it Agenda 47. We see how they are related, and then I also came across actually several discussions comparing Trump with Ronald Reagan. And that made me actually go back to review actually the studies that we are having on the last president of US. So when I went back, I found that in 1981 to 1989, we had Ronald Reagan as the president, and then who followed him? We had George Bush, Bush the first. Let me just say George Bush the first, and then we have followed by Bill Clinton, and then we have, and then we had Obama, and then after that we had Trump, and then Biden, and then we have we have Trump again. So there's a lot of comparison actually that I saw of Trump and Ronald Reagan actually during the electioneering period, which actually intrigued me a lot to look into it. I know in our studies actually of the last president, actually we never focused on Ronald Reagan's presidency. And what we had there, we had actually Bush, because he's the president from 1989 to 2001, right? I believe 1989 to around 2001. So that's where actually we are focused, but huh?
How many terms are those?
How many?
Terms are those?
This is one term, so it should go up to 2003.
Oh, 1989.
Anatoka?
90 something. Yeah, in 1908.
Kuna 19? No, 1989. The inauguration is in 1989. Yeah, so it's here. This is 1989. So it's 1989 to? 92. Yeah, 2 terms. Okay, you can check. You can Google and check. Take your time. Huh? So you add then. So it will. Okay, 1993. I don't know, but you can check. You check. So I know from January, let me say January, I don't think it's 20th, but let me write January 20th, that's the inauguration. So, confirm, you have the internet with you, you can confirm, Google.
Presidential term 1989 to
93, okay, it's fine. Let's go with that. So, when I looked at this, actually, something that intrigued me with the comparison, we have what?
In our time, number one.
Yeah, I know that. And I say that. I know a number one will be George Bush in our time. But I'm saying based on what actually I read, on the whatever I've written here 1981 to 1989. It finishes in 1989. And there's something that I want to pick from this. So I know 1989 is the time of the end and so forth. So, and it's George Bush who is the president. I'm aware of that. So when I look at this, actually, I found that there's an author actually that says that Trump is, should I call it reincarnation of what? Of Ronald Reagan coming back to presidency, okay? And when I looked at that, based on what actually I've written here, I looked at the number 8, and we are not going to do numerology, but the number 8, and when I looked at the number 8, what is the meaning of the number 8 in prophecy? The number 8 is a resurrection. So resurrection, we have the number 8 as a resurrection, and evidences for the number 8 as a resurrection. Be loud. Whisper. Resurrection. The ascension of Christ. More detail on that.
Maybe if we learn that Christ resurrected on the grave, on the 8th day, that is the first day.
So we have 7 weeks. We have 7 days in a week. So 7 signifies completion. And 8th, when you talk of 8th now, that will be back to, it's a new beginning, like a fresh beginning. So you are back to 1, if we are looking at it in terms of a week. What other evidence? The number 8. The number 8, the Israelites. So we have 7 days in a week. And so 7 days, that's completion, and so 8th takes you back to the first, let me say that. And then we have so we have circumcision among the Jews. They would circumcise on the 8th day, and that will signify a new what? A new covenant. The circumcision will signify a new covenant. Then we have Noah's Ark. Only 8 people were saved from Noah's Ark, and the 8 people, after the flood cleared the world, they did what? It is the 8 people actually a new beginning, like let me say they gave birth to us, the new earth, that was Nini. So that's what I had on that. So, the comparison, so that's actually what I had on that, Trump actually is Ronald Reagan actually, who is back actually in power. So something else that I saw is that the policies put in place by Ronald Reagan, which actually they have been termed, when you Google, they are termed as Reaganism actually, just like Trump, the policies that were put by Trump, they went through actually until the time of Obama. That's when actually most of the policies actually were ruled out or were removed. And then with Trump, when he came also in power, whatever policies he put in place, they outlived his presidency, okay? They outlived his presidency. So we'll do a comparison actually. I have like 15 comparisons between the two, which we'll do. But what I want us to look at is in the year 1981, the Heritage Foundation I don't know whether it's a foundation or institution, was founded in the year 1981. And let me read something on it. Oh, my laptop has gone off. Sorry, it's 1973. The Heritage Foundation is founded in 1973, and I want to read something on it. So the Heritage Foundation is an American conservative think tank based in Washington. Founded in 1973, it took a leading role in the conservative movement in the 1980s during the presidency of Ronald Reagan, whose policies were taken from the Heritage Foundation studies, including mandate for leadership. So there is in 1981 that I was talking about, in the period of Ronald Reagan, when Ronald Reagan actually begins his presidency, the Heritage Foundation writes the first, should I call it a book or policy, which is known as the Mandate for Leadership. So it writes, let me say, a document, a 2,000 and something page, known as Mandate for Leadership. And this document, known as Mandate for Leadership, Ronald Reagan uses it, and it said by the end of his first year of presidency, Ronald Reagan had implemented %60 of what is contained in on that document, the Mandate for Leadership. So over time, every subsequent year, for the last 40 years since its formation, just before elections, the Heritage Foundation have written a book. Have written policies in this document, the Mandate for Leadership, and what's unique actually, in this year, this election, it's what we term as Project 2025, this document, the mandate for leadership. So you can Google this mandate for leadership or Project 2025 and you'll get a document, a 900 and something page document, which according to most, let me say most media organizations actually, they were pointing that whatever is written in that document, Trump is gonna do what? Trump might implement fully. So when you look at Trump's, I spoke of Trump's manifesto. I don't know how to use the board, so I want to rub everything and use this part. I've wasted it. I know I've written a lot of stuff. So, okay, take a picture then.
Would you say that Trump's desire, or I don't know, moving Reagan, is it a conscious thing? Like, is he actually intending to Reagan is special Reagan? I don't know, not moving that's coping, or is this a version?
It said, it's the media actually, they are comparing him to, based on actually his first time in presidency and his way of doing things, they are comparing him to Ronald Reagan and the way Ronald Reagan will do things. So Trump, when asked about this document, the mandate for leadership, which was coined by the Heritage Foundation, on whether actually he's gonna implement whatever it said, he said that actually he has not read it, he's not willing to read it, and he's not gonna implement anything on it. But when you look at the campaigns, the Democrats campaigns from Kamala Harris, the senators, all those, while they were campaigning, actually they would do what? They would quote actually this document, the Mandate for Leadership Project 2025, and let me say the bad policies which are contained in it, which warning the people that they are gonna be done what? They are gonna be implemented should Trump come in as the president. So one of the reasons as to why people believe that Trump is gonna implement these policies is the people actually, should I call it a committee or the leadership, okay, which was part of developing these documents for this election actually, a better part of the leadership were people who were in his previous administration, who held some senior positions in his previous administration. And the same thing actually, these same people actually, because by now he has started naming people and filling the different positions, they are already back into what? Into leadership actually, into administrative roles. So that's one of the proofs as to that, the reason as to why people actually are projecting that this document is gonna be implemented fully by Trump. So the other reason is Agenda 47, which is Trump's manifesto, which is what I want us to look at, and the highlights on it, and then we compare it to the document, and then at last we compare Reagan and Trump, and then we close. So can I wrap? So Trump's manifesto for his new term, he has coined it or named it Agenda 47. And when you look at the definition of what Agenda 47 is, it says, Agenda 47 is Donald Trump's policy platform for his 2024 presidential campaign, detailed through videos on his campaign website. It focuses on expanding presidential power. So the focus, or let me say the key points, Expansion of his presidential power, mass deportations, policies like death penalty for drug dealers. Let me have that. Death penalty. There's a point I'm looking at. I don't know whether it's here. Yeah. So focus on traditional family. Let me say, call it setup. And then promote the Christian religion. So those are the key points actually that I picked on the document, but I'll read other policies in brief on what is contained on Agenda 47. So the others are energy independence, plans to make the US energy independent by promoting domestic oil, natural gas, nuclear, and clean coal, cancelling Biden's era energy regulations, and modernizing the electric grid. So we know that Trump doesn't believe in what? Doesn't believe in climate change, okay? So there are some of the policies actually that he intends to bring back actually, which would affect the climate. So we have economic policies that proposes attracting manufacturing back to the US through cheap energy, curbing federal spending via the president's impoundment power, and targeting federal ways to reduce inflation and taxes. So not those points, because actually we'll be comparing them with the policies of Ronald Reagan. So he intends to actually have freedom cities and technological advancements, which proposes to use federal land to build freedom cities, investing in air mobility technology like flying cars, and offering baby bonuses to encourage population growth. And then we have military and national security, plans to rebuild the US military strength and the Eastern European conflict, and demand European nations reimburse US aid to Ukraine. And then there is social and gender policies. Trump criticizes left-wing gender policies and promises to ban gender-affirming care for minors, investigate big pharma, and enforce traditional family education. So that's something that I've noted here, traditional family education. So we'll look into that. And then the war on drugs, pledges to wage a military-style war on drug cartel, impose a naval embargo on drug shipments, and introduce the death penalty for traffickers. And then we have immigration policies, plans to stop welfare benefits for illegal immigrants, revoke work permits, and enforce stricter border security, and also proposes ending automatic citizenship for children of illegal immigrants to deter illegal immigration. And then we have the rest. I believe actually they have been captured in that. I believe the rest actually have been captured. In whatever I've highlighted there. So in comparison, that's the summary on what I have on Agenda 47. So when you look at Project 2025, the key highlights of the document. I hope you've downloaded it. I said you download it. You can just Google. You'll find it online. I wanted to share it actually via my WhatsApp here, because I have the document in here. I've not downloaded it in my phone, but you can. My WhatsApp on my laptop is not working. It requires an update. So you can download it, because I'll be instructing you to go to some specific pages. So I'll read the forward. We're on page 2 for those who are on the document of the mandate for leadership, the 2025 mandate for leadership, or what is termed as Project 2025. I'll read from paragraph 2, which reads, just as important as the scope of conservative promise recommendation is the breadth of its authorship. This book is the product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from across the conservative movement and around the country. Contributors include former elected officials, world-renowned economists, and veterans from 4 presidential administrations. This is an agenda prepared by and for conservatives who will be ready on day 1 of the next administration to save our country from the brink of disaster. The Heritage Foundation is once again facilitating this work, but as our dozens of partners and hundreds of authors will attest, this book is the work of the entire conservative movement. As such, the authors express consensus recommendations already forged, especially along 4 broad fronts that will decide America's future. So the 4 broad fronts highlighted here . I've opened and lost it. So the 4 broad fronts which I highlighted, for those who are reading the document, I'm on page 3. So we have 1, restore the family as the bet you can read here. Since nobody has complained, I believe I'll continue writing until the bottom. I get to the bottom. Given individual. Yeah, so those are the key highlights, actually the 4 major points where on what Project 2025 is based on. So I believe even without explanation, you can try and decipher or try to explain what, like point number 1, what point number 1 says, that to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. So what does that mean? Yes, Sabina? Huh? Be louder. They are perceiving a threat to the family? Yes. Yeah. So, and then we have number 2, which says dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. Somebody who can break down that for us? I don't want to go into to read all the explanation that here because it's broad, but I bet there are things actually that maybe we've come across and we understand actually what they mean. Joy, another go.
It's the issue of small governments and big governments. So they want to restore like small governments to ensure minimal governments oversight.
Somebody else who wants to weigh in on the same? Then number 3, it's clear when it says that defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. So that's an issue to do with immigration and so forth. And then we have number 4, secure our God-given individual rights to live freely, what our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty. So when you compare, I've not gone into detail actually because of time. There are actually some points that are highlighted here on, let me get to it. There are some key highlights actually that I'll read on this. Besides this, allow me read through quickly. So the Project 2025 for mandate, the 2025 mandate for leadership is also known as the 180-day transition playbook. The 180-day transition playbook. So actually, whatever is contained in Project 2025, they intend to do what? To implement it within the first what? The first 180 days of what? Of the conservative, it's Trump now, so it's definitely Trump. So Trump's presidency. And when we compare with what I had said earlier, in 1981, Ronald Reagan, when the first document was written, the mandate for leadership in 1981, it said that Ronald Reagan had implemented up to 60% of the document by when? By the first year. The first year in 1981. And then further, Project 2025, initiated by the Heritage Foundation, aims to implement a conservative agenda if Trump is re-elected. It dates back to 1973. That's when the Heritage Foundation, based in Washington, D.C., was founded. Their mission is to mold America into a more Christian conservative state. Key here is the idea that Constitution guarantees liberties for each person to do not what they want, but what they ought according to the understanding of God's law. I bet you got that. So key here is the idea that the Constitution guarantees liberties for each person to do not what they want, but what they ought according to their understanding of God's law, and that is at the foundation of this entire document. And essentially what this boils down to is a vision of the country that privileges and prioritizes Christians in a particular version of Christianity. Their first manifesto in 1981, they called it Mandate for Leadership. Essentially, it aimed to roll back the state and unleash free market capitalism. President Ronald Reagan liked the idea so much that he gave a copy to each member of his cabinet to review the Heritage Foundation claims that among the 2,000 proposals, about 60% of them were implemented by the end of President Reagan's first year in office. The Heritage Foundation has published a mandate for leadership every election cycle for the past 40 years. So, what makes this one unique or different? So, I'll need board, and I never wanted to rub this bit, but let me rub here. I can rub, or you want to take a picture? Okay then.
This is the
Yeah.
Okay, is it
No, this is the only. Effie, how many minutes to go? Oh, Effie is out. So I won't read through actually, because I think actually my time is limited. I have about 15 or 20 minutes to go. So I won't read through all the other highlights on the near actually. I won't even write. I've read that point, but I won't write. But basically, the policy actually proposes plans to disband various federal departments, like the Department of Education, criminalize pornography, and restrict LGBTQ plus rights. So something key in that document, Project 2025, is something known as, towards the end we have Schedule F. So who has come across this term, Schedule F? I need another pen. Who has come across this term, Schedule F? So Schedule F was a job classification created by Trump executive order to give more control over federal employees and policy roles, making them easier to hire and fire. Schedule F was introduced by Trump to allow at-will employment for many federal employees, potentially politicizing the civil service. The Preventing a Patronage System Act aims to protect federal workers from being dismissed for non-merit-based reasons. So so in summary, whatever I've read, I won't write a lot on Schedule F because of time, but I'll read some other 2 points on Schedule F. When Trump was about to leave in the year 2020, was it 2020? Yeah, I believe it's 2020. He enacted, let me say, an executive order known as Schedule F, whereby it will give the president more power to, well, to fire and hire at will some, let me say, some officers in the government. So we know how the government actually operates. Even in Kenya, we have, like, for example, let me call IPOA. For example, what we have in IPOA, the Judiciary Service Commission. We have those commissions actually that elect the different civil servants actually who work in the PSC, the Public Service Commission, let me say, in Kenya. But now, with Schedule F, it would give these powers to the president to do what? To hire and fire at will. So they don't have to go through the process whereby these commissions nominate or appoint somebody, and then it goes to, is it the House of Representatives or the Senate to be vetted before he can resume office, or before firing somebody, whereby the House of Representatives or the Senate has to be involved in the process. It now gives the president the powers to fire and employ at will. So when Biden came in, he outlawed it. Let me say he removed it. But when you look at Trump's campaign, when he was actually not his campaign, immediately after he won, he said that he'll work hard to do what? To reinstate, to bring back Schedule F. So the legislation passed in the House of Representatives, but its future, the legislation that now was passed in the House of Representatives was the legislation Preventing a Patronage System Act. Will I write? Preventing a Patronage System Act. Was a legislation that was passed in the House of Representatives, but its future is uncertain. The competitive service established by the Pendleton Act ensures merit-based hiring and job protections for federal employees. But when Schedule F is implemented, actually all these will be done what? Will be watered down. So there are concerns that exist about the growing number of positions exempt from civil service laws, potentially undermining the competitive service. On September 15, 2024, the House of Representatives passed the Preventing a Patronage System Act, which is meant to shield federal workers from the return of Schedule F. But what Trump has said is, actually after his election, that he intends to do what? To work hard to do what? To return it. So, with the few minutes that I have, I want to do the comparison I was saying of Ronald Reagan and Trump. Sabina was highlighting that 1989, it's George Bush who is the president, and 1989, like, it's the, let me say, the beginning, okay? But I'll use this. I know maybe we might differ on the same, that this term of saying the end, let me say, to signify whatever the spelling is. And I want to do a quick compare of Ronald Reagan and Trump. So, first, with Ronald Reagan, both of them, they were once television hosts. So, Trump is known for which, it's not a movie, it's, what do we call them? Huh? Yeah, The Apprentice. The Apprentice. Trump is known for the same, for that. And Ronald Reagan was also an actor and a television host before coming into presidency. So Ronald Reagan on General Electric Theatre, one of the most popular shows of the late 1950s and early 1960s. And then we have Trump on The Apprentice, one of the most popular shows of the year 2000 and around 2010. So, let me call them radical resists. Both Ronald Reagan and Trump were populists who reviled Washington, though the former did not refer to it as deep state. Both used the campaign slogan, "Make America Great Again." He talked about his hometown, Dixon, Illinois, as being a wonderful place where people loved each other and neighbors supported each other. And he would have said it this way: it was like a kumbaya spirit prevailed. When the author actually, where I picked this, researched Dixon in the 1920s, he discovered that it was a hotbed of the Ku Klux Klan. Joy, what is that? I've heard you mention that before. Yeah, it's just finish. Sorry for cutting. So it's a white supremacist group. When you look into the history, they will go about, actually, they would kill the blacks who are vying for some political positions. So they had a private membership and so forth. So I won't go deep into what the Ku Klux Klan is. So in 1971, a phone call between President Richard Nixon and Reagan. President Reagan made racist remarks about African delegates to the United Nations, calling them monkeys and saying that they were still uncomfortable wearing shoes. He did not attend Martin Luther King's funeral, even though many Republicans did, and opposed the Martin Luther King Jr. public holiday right up until the day he signed it into law. So, with both Ronald Reagan and Trump, there have been assassination attempts which were not politically motivated. It was just an individual who tried doing it. And with Trump, you know the reason, during his campaign where his ear was shot. I bet you know that. And then we have something to do with the judiciary. During Ronald Reagan's time, Ronald Reagan named 384 federal court appointments. 384 federal court appointments. 384 federal court appointments, an all-time high to date. With Trump, he named, how many were they? 3 conservative Supreme Court judges. 3 conservative Supreme Court judges that shifted the balance at the Supreme Court, which was actually, it was balanced 4-4. There were 8, 4-4 to 6-2. So both Ronald Reagan and Trump, they favor policies. They have favored policies that favor policies favoring the rich, like policies against the union, formation of unions, or anti-union policies, thus increasing the income disparity. Besides that, we have taxation. So I'll mention taxation as a separate point. So when you follow Trump campaigns, one of his promises was to do what? He lowered taxations. And I bet even before, in his first term, that was one of his campaign points. But we know that's not the case when he came into power. So the same thing, Ronald Reagan, before he came into power, he campaigned using the same, saying that actually he would lower, there'll be lower taxation, but when he came into power, he brought in an idea, what he was calling revenue adjustments, which actually was actually increasing taxes. And then both Ronald Reagan and Trump, they were Democrats before they became Republican. They were at one point Democrats before shifting to be, before becoming Republicans. I've not been giving them numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Facts. What are Fox facts? Steve? Somebody use your dictionary. Trump, during his presidency, we had COVID-19, right? And what was Trump saying about COVID-19, the issue about vaccinations, and what did he say? He said? No, he said that you can inject what? Bleach, right? Huh? Yeah, that you can inject bleach and like that will kill COVID. COVID will be gone. And then there is a time actually, I think I've written that point here. There's a time actually when Trump was presented with a hurricane map. I'll read what is written here. Trump used a black marker to alter an official hurricane map and suggested injecting bleach as a cure for COVID-19. So, the other point, military deployments. So Trump is on his campaigns, actually, he has been against what Biden did during his administration, like deployment of the military and use of American, let me say, what is it, missiles and the artillery to help Ukraine and other nations in a fight. Instead, what he thinks actually ought to be done is that the military actually, the heavy military should be used to do what? To protect more US. And he promises actually, when he comes into power, to have a heavy military deployment to curb on demonstrators, people who demonstrate against some policies. So he'll have that to in his name. Now another thing that I saw, number 10, during, when was HIV/AIDS discovered? 1984 in Kenya. 1981. So while it says that actually AIDS existed from around 1973 or so, the first time actually when in lab they confirmed it and they had it like a disease, an epidemic, was in the year 1981 during Ronald Reagan's presidency. And how Ronald Reagan tackled the whole issue, the funding towards the research on AIDS, towards trying to find cure for, he was very skeptical and he wasn't willing actually to do that. And actually he said that AIDS was, at some point, he said that AIDS was a disease that God has brought as a punishment for the gay people. It was a punishment for the gay people. So he saw no point actually of intervening to try to do what? To find cure for it. Now, surprisingly, during Trump's period, we have what? We have COVID-19. Now, how did Trump handle COVID-19? So, we have HIV/AIDS, and then we have COVID-19 during Trump's presidency. So I believe HIV and AIDS is a major, let me say, epidemic ever since, for quite a long period that came in place around that period. And then COVID-19 as a pandemic. I believe, have we had any other major pandemic in the period before, let me say from 1980, around this period to this period, other than COVID-19? I believe it's COVID-19 actually. What? You're saying smallpox? Ebola. So COVID-19 actually is, let me say, the major pandemic that has come during their period. So I was trying to compare, I saw a comparison of Ronald Reagan's presidency in handling HIV and AIDS epidemic and Trump's handling of COVID-19 pandemic. What's the difference between an epidemic and a pandemic? A pandemic is global, and an epidemic. Esther, where is Esther? She's not here. Wale wamefanya health. Yeah, oh, Glady, tell us.
Okay, pandemic. So, okay, like COVID-19 just began with
Yeah, so something like that. So I won't highlight the other believe, how many minutes do I have, Effie? It's up. Time is up. So, okay, we have issues on foreign policy and so forth, and how these different presidents handled it. So, I pick up from whatever actually I wanted to highlight from this class. When you compare, actually, when you do a comparison between Trump, and especially on some major points like this point, the judiciary, we know that in 2022, when the Roe versus Wade was overturned, we know that actually the judges whom Trump nominated into office played a big role into overturning of that. They voted how many? How many was it? 5. 5-3. 5-3. And all the judges actually that Trump, 6, okay, 6-3. All the judges that Trump had nominated actually supported it. So, in the document and in Agenda 47, they speak about these let me say that this landmark ruling, and let me try to get, I don't know whether I managed to highlight it later. Sorry, I don't have it, but they say something like it's just the beginning, that more is to come in relation to do what? In relation to these, the abortion rights, the reproductive rights, and what they are going to do about it. And actually at some point it talks about even condoms, the use of condoms. They are thinking of, I don't know how to call it, but abolishing something to do with condoms and advocating for methods. There's how they are calling natural, let me say natural methods, like observing the monthly calendar, safe days, and there's another term that is used. I'd pick that point but I think I've lost. So they advocate for things like observing safe days as opposed to issues like condom. But we know that while you can observe safe days and that, besides condoms serving the role of preventing pregnancy, we know they prevent somebody from STIs, which actually when you observe safe days and all that, it wouldn't prevent. But that's what they're advocating for. It's in Project 2025. So you can just do a search on it and it will take you to the point that reads that. I'd pulled it out in the first document that I've made, but I think I've lost it. So that's the major comparison. So my argument to this is, somebody get me a quote. There's a quote in GC. 1 minute, I'll be done in a minute. There's a quote in GC that speaks about the Sunday law that says that when the legislature, is it the legislature and the judiciary? GC? GC?
441.
441. Read it, please. If you're there, you can read it and then we close. GC 442?
The land like horns and dragon voice of the single point to a striking contradiction between the profession and the status of the nation thus represented. The stigma of the nation is the action of these legislative and judicial authorities. By such action, it will give a life to those literal and peaceful principles which their school code was the foundation of its policy. The prediction that it will speak as a dragon and exercise all the power of the first beast gradually protects the development of the spirit of intolerance and persecution that was manifested by the nations represented by the dragon and the Robert Festus.
So just stop it there. So the speaking of the dialogue represents what? Is it the judicial and legislative authorities. So my argument, I'm saying my argument, my argument is that my argument for November 5th, remember I said that I'm advocating, or in my opinion, I think November 5th is a Sunday law, is because actually of what are presented. One being, when you compare Ronald Reagan to Trump, and this issue, the mandate for leadership, which actually came in 1981 and was enacted within the first year, there is actually, we don't have to wait, but Trump being the president, and well, comparing Agenda 47 and Project 2025, and we see the similarities, besides the administrators who were in his previous government, who helped formulate it, and who will be in his next government, whatever is written in Project 2025 is going to be implemented. Just like they are pushing for it, it's going to be implemented. And the implementation might, let me say, like the abortion right, the issue about the immigration, they'll be implemented in steps, okay? And I'm saying people are aware, when you look at it, people are aware before the election, November 5th, the media, when you look at the Washington Post, when you look at all the journalists, they were talking about the Project 2025 and the bad policies that it had, that Trump might enact. So, by people choosing Trump, regardless of knowing these, actually, by that, they agreed to what? To whatever is contained in Project 25, those policies. So, in essence, they have passed. They'll already be implemented. And then the other thing, by the judiciary, when it says the judiciary, I know we've been having it like, what the judiciary is, the judges and all that. But you know, who appoints the judiciary? So, a key pickup for me, whatever happened here, of course, with Trump coming in as a president, there are going to be no nominations. So he's going to decide actually who is going to sit on that bench. So by the executive, by choosing a conservative president, actually, we are going to have more judges who are what? Who are conservative, who actually will make policies in that, or laws in that direction. And then we have the legislature. Which side, the Democrats or the Republican? Who won the legislature? The Senate and the House of Representatives. How is the walichukua yote, si ndio? So it's at the election, at the date of the election, on July 18th, we couldn't know whether they are going to get the House of Representatives, which is the legislature. But come November 5th, they got the presidency, which I'm saying is going to influence the judiciary, and they got the legislature. And with this document in place, which actually, it goes against everything actually that we advocate for inequality, I believe it passed on November 5th, when people, knowing well what these people are advocating and what they'll pass, they went ahead and did what? And elected them. That's my take. Questions? Q&A. Let's pray. Glady, pray for us.
Dear Ouma, thank you so much for this wonderful session. Thank you for this one from the people and giving us so that we are able to have our own specific dispensation. It will be done to the state and Saturday.
Amen.